Coming up on this episode of Don't Panic, we've got technology news including Facebook caught up in a censorship controversy. We'll explain what it means. We'll also talk about corporate America winning again with Charter and Time Warner Cable. We'll talk about the New York Times' new door-to-door food strategy, Windows 10 upgrades about to get expensive, and why Intel is quitting on the mobile chip market. It's going to be a jam-packed episode of Don't Panic. We hope you join us because we're going to start right now. This is Don't Panic, episode number 131, recorded May 9th, 2016, on Intel quitting, Facebook censoring, and the Times delivering. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast that is a great gift for all occasions. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by the rye and pumpernickel of technology, two guys from the same loaf. It is Colby Rabidou and Dan Miller.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Hi there.
Oh, hi there. Funny running into you here.
Yeah, funny what are you...
I didn't think they let your kind in here.
They normally don't. That's why I've disguised myself.
We've made an exception.
Yeah.
Just for you. What's going on, guys? What's the scoop?
I'm 1 year older.
Yes, that's right. Cinco de Colby.
Yep.
Siete de Colby.
Hey, that's exciting. You do anything fun for your birthday?
Dan Miller was in Boston.
No, I meant fun. Anything fun for your birthday?
Not a drag.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we drank many cocktails. They were all delicious. And then I went to Rhode Island.
I was sad to not be at the point and on your actual birthday where I would be drunk enough to shout Siete de Colby at whatever bar we were at and try to get everyone dancing around.
That's a shame.
There's always next year, Dan.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would have been pretty cool.
Bring my trumpet for next year.
Yeah, that would be great.
Surprise!
You just pull a sombrero out from behind your back. Colby, we're getting this party started.
Just like lay on the stick-on mustache, just like...
Yeah.
Got mariachi pants. Don't test me.
This is the best plan I've ever heard. You got a whole year to prepare. Well, that's exciting, and that's Dan. You were in Boston,
That is true.
the Windy City.
No, that's Chicago.
The Twin Cities, the city by the bay, the Big Apple, the city of angels.
What is Boston's like?
No,
What is
Beantown.
this?
It's Beantown, right? Isn't that
Is it? I mean, that is a thing, but is that its like?
nickname?
Yeah.
I'm
I feel
afraid
like all
to
the
Google
other
Boston's
cities
nickname.
have like the city something. Like, I don't know.
All right, Boston nicknames.
just
Oh, there's a whole Wikipedia article called Boston
Nice.
Nicknames. City on a Hill,
Okay.
the Hub, the Athens of America. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's grandiose.
A little bit. The Puritan
is.
City, the Cradle of Liberty. Yeah, okay.
That's pretty badass.
The very weak City of Notions.
What kind of-
America's Walking City, of course, Beantown, Titletown, which comes from their sports dominance.
Okay.
The City of Champions, a similar.
Except from 1918 through 2003.
Yes, exactly. And lastly, the Old Town, which is because it's one of the oldest in the United States. So there you go. The City on the
Gotcha.
Hill, I guess, would probably be the closest. I like the Athens of America. Which, by the way,
Or
is
the-
also the nickname of Philadelphia, which I feel like is kind of unfair.
The Athens of America.
Yeah, apparently there are two.
That's weird. What was Baltimore's name? Was it like the Emerald City or something
No, the
like
Emerald
that?
City is Seattle. I think it was like the Magical City or... Baltimore nicknames.
I remember like the bus was named after the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I vaguely remember. Again, we'll use Charm City.
Yep,
That's
was
what
the
it was.
one.
Also, I remember their slogan was also the greatest city in America. which I thought was a little okay. All right. Who died and
bold
made you the
claim.
greatest city in America?
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Cool. What's
that
new
it?
with you?
Oh, I thought you would never ask. No, absolutely nothing. Really? No, mowed my lawn today a little bit.
Ooh.
Did a little bit of lawn mowing. Because it rained, as you guys know, rained all weekend in the Northeast. So there was not much of an opportunity to get out there, so I had to do it during the week.
Oh, interesting.
I know. The fun of home ownership. Which I will hopefully not have to do much longer, but no, I don't mind. It's actually, turns out, very relaxing to just, because it's a self-propelled push mower, so you don't do too much and you just walk in circles. It's very therapeutic.
Right.
I should pay
Cool.
crazy people to mow my lawn and help them relax. People with rage issues. Of course, you don't want them around power equipment, so maybe that's a poor plan
Gotcha.
on my part.
Do you know a lot of people with rage issues?
I know one. Depending on where you work, you might know one. But I don't know too many. I'll have to make a few. In Texas, I'm sure there are plenty. So
Right.
that won't
And they
be
all
an
have
issue.
guns
And
naturally.
yeah, they're all loaded, open carry.
Right.
Gotta love it. Neat. All right. Is there any other banter we wish to get to?
I don't think so. I haven't done anything exciting technologically in the past week.
Well, it's a tough time of year too,
Yeah.
because there's not much new. Everyone's really busy. Summer's not quite here yet, and most of the announcements will start this month into June. But it's been quiet up to now.
It's true. Yeah.
But I guess we can get into the news. We do have, and we actually do have more stories than usual. Scoured the web. Oh, you know what? We can take a brief opportunity to do a super. I promise we won't linger. A super quick movie draft update. Dan's going to be glad we're bringing it up this week because he is rising.
Oh yeah,
in the
I have a
ranks.
question.
Yes,
How do I see the results at any given moment? Is there like a spreadsheet?
Dan Miller, you are in luck because you can go to upfordebate.tv/draft.
Perfect.
Go there, and it is embedded right on the page, and that'll update live. And by live, I mean when I get around to manually updating it. But that will give you the up-to-date sheet. In fifth place, we have Colby, who has only one movie, Keanu, at 15 million. But this coming
He
week,
only got one movie.
Not
but
great
this
for
coming
me.
week, he's got Neighbors too. So,
Oh yeah.
So
I should go to the movies to support myself.
I saw Captain America, so I'm supporting Team Dan. Shame on me.
Yeah, I'm the third party candidate in the Captain America movie. You
Yeah.
can go Team Iron Man,
Team Cap,
Team Cap, or Team Dan.
Miller. I will be Team Dan Miller in that.
No matter who you vote for, you're supporting Team Dan. That's like kind of the shitty part.
Well, that's the exciting thing is Dan jumped to second place. We have Mike at 40 in fourth, Matt at 82 in third, and Dan in second with 188. Captain America: Civil War. Some fun facts for you. It is the 8th largest opening day gross of all time, the 5th largest opening weekend of all time, the 5th fastest to 150 million of all time, and the, let's see, and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's currently ranked 11th, but there's still a ways to go. 179 million puts you in second place behind me.
Yeah, amazing. What did Matt get his money off of?
He's actually had two movies. He had The Boss and Mother's Day.
Wow.
Neither of which Mother's Day was incredibly flat and The Boss was pretty flat. It is
Nice.
not turning out, one of the big three questions we had last week, which was, one of them was, will it be a big summer overall for movies? It has not shown that because the hits have been hits, but the mediocre films have not kind of bubbled to the top. So we'll have to see if that trend holds, but you look at Keanu at 15, I mean, that's crazy.
It's also not actually summer
Well,
yet.
it is early, so we could see that tide change. June,
The
I think, will be a big question mark.
The kids are still in school.
Because exactly, they were all going to go to Mother's Day, but they've been trapped in the classroom. So But but no, hey, listen, I'm just excited. Jungle Book picked up another like 60 million this past weekend, so
Wow.
it's still really chugging.
It
It has beaten. I'm gonna look and see actually what it did this past weekend.
Yeah, you're cleaning up with that.
Jungle Book did another 25 million this weekend, especially up against Civil War. So I was very happy about that. That beat my expectations. So I don't know. We'll see. We're getting early reviews on X-Men. They're saying it's going to be pretty mediocre. So
Yes.
which is fine. I'm going to go
I think
see it.
I saw it labeled as franchise killing.
Ooh, I didn't see anything that bad.
man.
Most of what I saw was if you liked the other X-Men movies and you don't care about plot, you'll really like this movie. However, if you care at all, the story apparently in the writing is not great. So I hope not, because I really like those movies. I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't go well. Also because I own it in the draft. But anyway, as previously mentioned, up for debate.tv/draft. We will have updates for you all summer long on how it's going. Of course, you can go to the website anytime and get updates as the summer continues. Why don't we jump into some news here? We've got, 7 stories here in the rundown from companies as diverse as Facebook, Spotify, the New York Times, Windows 10, Intel, Apple Music. What is getting your attention, guys? Anything in particular? Don't all
I
jump
haven't
at
heard
once.
about TV on Spotify yet. That's new. That's news to me.
All right, well, we can certainly take a look at that because, let me click some buttons here. Spotify has announced that, well, a little bit of backstory. You may remember Spotify announced that they were partnering with companies like ESPN, MTV, and Comedy Central to present video clips from those partners within the app for users. This was announced a while back. I think we might have talked about it on the show. But apparently, Spotify is going to work on original video series that will be exclusive to Spotify. Each episode will last no longer than 15 minutes, and the series will be made available to iOS and Android users in the US, UK, Germany, and Sweden later this year. There's only 12 new shows. All will revolve around music and pop culture, but they are also reportedly expecting a second phase involving more comedy, animation, and collaboration with artists at some point in the future.
Exciting.
So, some of the early highlights among Spotify's first original concepts include Rush Hour, a series from hip-hop legend Russell Simmons that brings artists together for lightning-fast remixes and mashup, a series called Landmark, a documentary series about moments in musical history that's coupled to a podcast series of the same name, and Trading Playlists, which celebrities trade playlists and learn more about each other in the process. Of course, this goes along with Apple Music that is reportedly working on original content, and Apple, as well as Vice Media that is doing the same title as well, experimenting with original video. So what do we think? Music services getting into video. Good idea? Bad idea?
I can't imagine myself ever watching a video on Spotify. Especially not like random stuff like this. I guess I could picture some people being into those things, but I don't think those are things that I'm into. Especially not like Spotify is really not that available. It's like on your phone, but it's not around. It's not on places I watch video, really. I guess maybe an iPad or a desktop computer. I don't know. Maybe it's, I feel like music videos make sense for a music company. Maybe this makes sense too. Maybe I'm just being negative.
Well, that was my very first thought when I heard this story was why well, first of all, I'm not a Spotify subscriber, but even if I was, why would I ever watch a video on Spotify? But then I thought about it. How many people you think 10 or 15 years ago would have said, I'm going to be an HBO subscriber?
I don't know.
Sorry, what? I missed that.
10 or 15 years ago, how many people would have said I'll be an HBO subscriber? Or maybe even a different comparison. Before Mad Men and Breaking Bad, how many people said I have to have AMC in my cable package? And before The Walking Dead? right? They weren't
Yeah.
destination.
American movie classics.
Yes, exactly. Showing Dirty Harry for the 3,000th time on a Saturday afternoon. You're not a destination until you're a destination, right?
Yeah.
It's a little different. I will agree that Spotify is very focused on music, and it is mobile only. But if they can create original content that is so captivating, there is no place to get it except for Spotify. I think any service can theoretically make that work. If we made a website and created a series that was so great that everyone was buzzing about it, but you could only get it on don'tpanic.io, people would go to don'tpanic.io. Well,
Like they do.
exactly, like we do every week. So I think the question is, with all these services going after original video, how much good content is there out there? Seriously. Like, there's got to be a limit to, think of how many shows a network pitches in a given year, and how many of them, the percentage of success is so small in these shows.
Right.
That, what are really the odds they're going to get that breakthrough?
I mean, I guess all you need is one. And then it becomes a question of, like, how much this stuff costs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if it's super cheap, maybe it doesn't matter.
It can't be super cheap, though, right?
No,
Like,
it's not.
yeah.
And successful
Yeah,
series
if it's,
get
like,
more
famous people.
and they get more expensive, not less. HBO used to pay a lot less for shows, and you pay less for a show in the first season than you do in the 8th season. So,
Right.
content is a very expensive proposition. Netflix has spent multiple billions on content. Is that something Spotify really wants to do?
Multiple billions?
Multiple billions.
Billions with a B?
With a B. Now, I think just in original content, it's going to be on the lower end of that, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars on video content.
Wow.
That's crazy. It could happen. It's not the craziest thing. There is talk this week about Apple doing the same thing, but Apple has more. I think what makes that story more likely in my head is Apple has so much more money to just let's try making some TV shows. Like,
Where
they could
I feel-
do that.
I feel like Spotify is like the opposite, where not that they don't have any money, but they're, I don't know, they're barely a profitable company. Am I
Right.
misremembering that?
Well,
No, I don't think so.
yeah, they're not wildly profitable, certainly.
Right. But they certainly don't have, like $300 billion sitting around in the bank to do whatever they feel like with.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is Apple also has an ecosystem, right? They have iTunes that already sells TV and movies. They have Apple TV that already serves it up to your... You're not surprised to get video content from Apple, put it that way. It is a big differentiator for them.
You can get like Spotify on the PlayStation 4 and stuff. So
That's true. They do have a lot of apps.
Yeah.
But they have said the video is reportedly, at least at launch, only iOS and Android.
Now what would be cool is if they could take the same sorts of technologies that make it really fast to stream music and bring like that same sort of peer-to-peer stuff to video on a successful video platform where you just click on Game of Thrones and it starts playing immediately. There's no buffering. There's no okay, I'm going to spin the little Apple circle here for about 10 seconds, guys, while we go ahead and authorize you to view this video and start downloading it.
Although
that would be cool.
That brings up an interesting point, though, and I would like to know your guys' experience. What is your average buffer time on Netflix? On whatever device
Netflix
you watch it
great. On. Netflix is great.
0 usually.
It's instantaneous. I don't know how they do it. It's got to be preloading, right? They've got to be doing some...
Well, because on some of the video, I think it's at least on the PS4 client, when you go, if I hover over if I click on House of Cards or even select an episode, it'll start playing whatever it thinks I should see.
Yeah.
It's already... So it could be all the clients are already loading the episode when you're looking at the thing deciding if you want to play it or not.
It's crazy. It's like watching regular TV. It's amazing.
Right.
On my Roku, it's super fast.
Yeah. It's also very noticeable when it doesn't work like that.
Yes. I do.
Why isn't this working? It hasn't loaded in 1 second.
Or what really bothers me is when you watch something like House of Cards and it's super crisp HD for 30 minutes, and then it gets pixely for no reason for a little while, and you're like,
Yeah.
why is everything
No.
fuzzy? Like, do I need glasses? Like, what is going on?
Right. I will say that is, I mean, not a wholly solved problem, but I rarely experience like annoying buffering mid-show anymore, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I feel like it's gotten most of the way there, but I agree. I think there is value in a technology play, but that doesn't. I don't think that's what. To be honest, if I had to guess why Spotify's doing this, it's the more people use the app, the better it is for them, whether they're serving ads or getting value out of your subscription.
Right.
And if that means adding different types of content, they added podcasts a while back.
Just don't panic on Spotify.
No, that's what's annoying. Is it's only select partners. It's only select
Boo.
partners. They don't just let anyone. That's why we went.
That's
to Google
not
Play.
podcast.
We're
Google
so
Play.
select,
That's a
though.
lie.
Yeah,
It's a facade.
I know. What a bunch of jerks. Is that a summer ale there, Dan?
It is.
Mm.
Are you enjoying the same beverage?
I am enjoying decaf coffee,
Ah.
like an adult. Unlike you college youngsters.
Right.
But I saw that. I do like me some summer beer.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. I already told both of you this, but Trillium Brewery in Boston has amazing beer.
Yeah.
Nice.
All of our listeners in Boston need to check that out.
All right.
I agree.
I got to do that. Because you're not the first person to tell me that I should go there. And
Boston is a great brewery town.
It's true.
That's true.
It's also a great bean town.
Great place for beans.
That's right. Speaking of beans, we can talk about more news. I don't know what that segue means, but what?
We better have a farting story in here.
Yeah, anything bean related? No, we can.
The New York Times meal delivery service.
There we go.
Yeah, bean-rific. New York Times. All the news that's fit to print. Was that the New York? That's the New York Times, right?
I don't know.
I don't.
That famous
I just
newspaper
figured.
line. Anyway, you may know the New York Times is that newspaper website you go to, because does anyone really read the print version that often anymore? Well, that's part of the reason why they've announced that they are partnering with food startup Chefd to provide subscribers with ingredients from recipes pulled from the cooking site and app. So the way it works is readers will be able to sign up for one or two options within the service. The first lets you order a single meal kit designed from a recipe in the New York Times cooking app. The second is a subscription that lets the user select however many meals per week they want, with the Times and Chef offering suggestions based on their preferences, so more like a Blue Apron or a HelloFresh in that case. It's unclear how much they will cost because it hasn't actually launched yet. But ingredients will be delivered to the users within 48 hours, and the two companies will split the profits. So basically the short version is, outside of the subscription, one day you're just browsing through the New York Times cooking app and you see a recipe you like, and if it's a select recipe, you hit the button and within 48 hours, all the ingredients you need to cook it are delivered to your door.
That's cool.
And it doesn't say,
Sweet.
I'm assuming it's in New York City.
I would hope so.
Oh, it says New York and Los Angeles.
Oh.
So you'll be able to get it in both.
Cool.
Yeah, I would try this. Maybe I will try it. Can we do it now?
I kind of... No, it's not... I'm trying to see if it says here exactly when it will launch. It's not super clear.
Coming soon.
Coming
It's not,
soon. So...
Yeah.
Yeah, all it really did was name Chefd as their exclusive meal kit partner. So
Yep.
it didn't even say super specifically. Oh, will be available this summer. So look forward to
Okay.
that. No, what I think
I
is
will look forward to it.
what I think is super neat about this is I just like the on-demand part. Because while HelloFresh
Right.
and those services are really good, you can only choose from so many recipes, and they really pick for you. But if there was a database of even 100 recipes, I don't expect them to have thousands. Although I guess there's probably some mathematical equation where X number of ingredients get you X number of recipes. But even if there were 100 to choose from and I could just pick one, and within 24 hours have it at my door, like,
So
mind-blowing.
I like the utility of like it comes when you need it, as opposed to a. I mean, I like Blue Apron too because it's like I always need to eat dinner during the week, and it brings me dinner. But I feel like it's a different problem.
Yeah, and it is. I think I find the value in a subscription service, but I also find value in the non-subscription service for people who like HelloFresh, for example. I don't get it that often. I really like it when I get it, but it's not something I'd get every week. But if I could do it a meal or two at a time, I think the question would be what it would cost.
Right.
Yeah, that's my big thing too. Is I am not home often enough in a given week to use any of the weekly meal subscriptions. But some weeks I'm home way more often than others. Like not anytime soon, but it's happened. So if I could like go through and say, okay, this week I'm going to get 3 meals, and the week after that I'm only going to get 1. That would be really cool. I would totally do that because I've really enjoyed Blue Apron and the other one I used. Yeah, a lot. Something begins with an N, maybe. I recommend it on the show, so you could always go look at don'tpanic.io/picks. My favorite webpage on the internet.
Except it's only available to us when we sign in, isn't it?
Is that true?
You told me that, so I don't know how true that is.
No, it's available to anyone.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. I just want to make sure.
Good thing, because we can't change it. So
yes, nothing on the website can ever change. Don't even think about it.
We practice the opposite of continuous deployment.
Right.
That's funny.
Never deployment.
Right. We're never going to deploy the Don't Panic website again.
So I'm on Chef's website. It's CHEF''D. And they already have partners like allrecipes.com and Good Housekeeping. And I'm looking at some of the dinners that you can already buy. So an ancho shrimp taco, dinner for two, $34. Chicken tikka masala, dinner for two, $39. Some are as low as $25. Some are as high as $40. So if that's any indication of what it will cost per meal.
Are those 2-person meals or one
yeah,
person?
dinner for 2, and it looks like all of them have the option to do a dinner for 4 for
nice.
A little less than 20. You get a slight discount for buying more. But not cheap. You're talking per plate, you're talking easily, $13 to $20.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which is
that's kind of expensive.
But to be honest, I can speak for HelloFresh. It's $60 for 3 meals, 2 plates each. So for 6 meals, it's $10. So it's a little more expensive because you're not doing the subscription part.
Right. And is this all ingredients? They don't say like you're gonna need to go get yourself some barley or whatever, or
no. So for example, here I've got a roasted chicken with potatoes and stuff, and it says all you'll need is salt, pepper, and oil. So I think it's very similar to those other services where it's all the ingredients. So I think this is a really great addition to that style of service. I would definitely do it. But I don't live somewhere cool where they have stuff like this.
Neither do I.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
True.
Yeah, Colby, they have all. Does every major city have different versions of Seamless and Grubhub?
Well, so we have Seamless and Grubhub, but we also have others.
Right.
Foodler is the one that's big around Boston.
Right, that's super weird.
It is weird. It's very annoying because there's a subset of restaurants on each one for the most part. There are very few restaurants that are on more than one in my experience. So I don't know. I feel like I'm probably not getting the best food in all possible categories because I almost always only order from Foodler.
Well, there is this week's big multi-million-dollar startup idea from Don't Panic. Food delivery service aggregator app that aggregates all the other apps, and you take a small percentage cut off of everything ordered from your app. I mean,
Could happen. We could maybe do it.
That's a smart one.
Right?
Think
The don't
I
panic.
bet they're
startup
wicked
meeting.
aggressive about not letting people do that.
probably.
Wow, that was a very Boston sentence.
Wicked aggressive. Yeah, I'm just excited to move to somewhere where you can order food with an app. I don't get to do that now. And a place with Uber. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Got those things where you're headed?
Yeah, Houston's got all of
Nice.
those things. It's
Nice.
a real city.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
It sure is. Let's keep the party train rolling here with some more news, because I really feel like we're we got momentum now. We got momentum. We're really going here. What are we going to talk about next?
Why is Windows 10 getting so much more expensive?
Why is Windows Dan? I'm glad
I
you
thought
asked.
it was free. I thought it was a free upgrade.
Well, it is for now.
Dun dun dun. Is this like Gmail's in beta for now, or like other things that are only for now?
Well, Microsoft has always said that there was going to be a limit on how long you could upgrade for free. Now, let me just start by saying that it was first Windows 10 was a free upgrade for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 starting last year. This year, after July 29th, they say in order to upgrade from 7 or 8.1, you will need to purchase a full license at $119 or buy a new computer. As far as I know, the entire time they've been pretty upfront about it not being a permanent forever free upgrade. I fully expect they will extend that. They usually tend to do that when they either end products or end upgrades. They tend to extend them by a couple months a year. So that wouldn't surprise me. But as of now, you're gonna start getting even more aggressive pop-up boxes asking you to upgrade.
Now, here's my question. Why?
That is a really good question. I can give you the pro and the con version. The pro version is that Microsoft likes money, and they want people to upgrade now, and they see this as a way to incentivize that. The downside is that for people who don't upgrade, they're probably not going to upgrade after July 29th. They're going to have a lot of old Windows 7 and 8.1 machines. For people who either forgot or their machine wasn't connected to the internet at the time, or they just decided they didn't want to, or whatever. You're limiting yourself. If Windows 10 is your new standard bearer going forward, you've limited yourself permanently from getting those people to upgrade.
Right.
Until they buy a new computer. Which, with Windows, is going to be every 2 years, so,
Are people still buying computers that often?
I don't know.
Windows ones?
It's so... PC sales are down. I don't even know what kinds of computers people are buying these days, to be honest with you. Most of the time when people come to me and ask me about buying a computer, I don't usually send them to that cheap Windows computer anymore. I say, if you want a cheap computer, you buy a Chromebook. And if you want a nice Windows machine, plunk down $1,000 and buy a machine that's going to last you 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. The $600 Windows laptop just doesn't, in my opinion, cut it anymore. Spend $200 on a Chromebook and you'll be just as happy.
Right.
Or get an iPad. At the same price, you get an iPad. So.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. We'll see if they extend it. But as of now, get your upgrade in. I've still got an old Windows 7 machine that I gotta decide whether or not I'm gonna upgrade it.
Oh, does it work well on like older hardware? Do you know?
Windows 10. I've heard mixed things. I mean,
Okay.
the put it this way, the computer I'd put it on came with Vista, so it's quite old.
Wow.
I may just keep it at 7. The other thing too is, they're ending the upgrade. They are not ending security patches. So, as far as I know, for the time being, they will continue to security patch Windows 7. You just don't get the new features of Windows 10.
Gotcha.
So, if you don't want Cortana and, the App Store and some stuff like that, then you don't necessarily need to upgrade.
Right.
So, moving on to the next story, if you're ready.
Oh,
if you're good.
Let's do it then.
I remember talking about the Time Warner charter merger, like when the podcast started, years ago, right?
It
Or was
sure
that a different Time Warner merger?
No.
Well, at one point, wasn't it Time Warner and Comcast?
Comcast? That
Or-
sounds even worse.
So how about a mini history lesson?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Previously, Time Warner and Comcast did try to merge, and the government essentially shut them down and said, not a chance. So instead, they went to the other biggest cable provider and said, we're going to merge with you instead. And the government said, okay. That's really the short version, but I can give you a little more details once I get the story open. Together, they would create the second largest cable company in America behind, you guessed it, Comcast. It's not completely done. It's still got to go through a few more regulatory bodies, but the FCC was the big one. They did have to do a lot of things, a number of conditions to get the approval through, including no data caps for, I believe, 7 years, they promised, on their ISP service. They can't put anything into place that create unfair barriers to video competition. So, there's still a lot of questions, but also Charter had to sell off some assets, some of their smaller cable assets to make sure they weren't too big when they merged. But overall,
Imagine how crappy a job that must be to be. I don't know, to have to orchestrate the
merging.
Right, the merging of people, but I'm thinking more of computer systems. It must be a disaster.
Mergers and acquisitions are one of the hardest things a company can do successfully. It really is, because you're right. There's so many pieces to a business, whether it's people and culture, whether it's architecture and hardware and software. The airline industry has been a great example of how hard it is.
Right.
American Airlines, they've owned U.S. Air for how many years now, and they're still working on getting it integrated. It takes a decade to get a company truly integrated. It's very hard to do. Now, the cable industry's gotten very good at that because they all keep buying each other, and now there's just two big companies. But it will be interesting to see. The other thing, too, is, and this is a big question, do they keep, and as far as I know, they haven't said, do they keep Time Warner Cable as a separate company by name, which they can do? A good example of that is AT&T buying DirecTV. They didn't change it to AT&T Satellite.
Right.
At least for the moment, they're leaving it as DirecTV.
Right.
So, it'll be interesting to see if, maybe they leave it separately and they just change the name. I don't know. There are a lot of ways you can do it. They haven't been 100% clear exactly on how they plan to do that.
Neat.
No, not really.
I'm glad I'm not a customer of either of those companies. To assume that it will only get worse, but probably. Actually, maybe I'm not glad, because I'm a Comcast customer.
Oh, did I tell you guys what ISP I have down in Houston?
No.
Roadrunner.
I have no. Time Warner Cable bought them. It's AT&T Uverse, which is technically DSL.
Aha!
Get cable.
Very exciting. I remember AT&T Uverse was one of the options in San Francisco.
Yes, they're south and west primarily.
You can get them over here. You can get them anywhere because they're not cable.
No, they are. It's technically you can get them anywhere, but they don't offer the service in many places. Yes.
Well, I hope your upload bandwidth is pretty good.
Well, I have to pay extra for that. Believe it or not, all the low packages, the upload is super. Although my upload now is super shitty, but I'm not getting cable, and so my excuse is I can afford a little nicer internet package.
I sure hope so.
Because I'll be streaming on my TV instead of watching it over cable. Man, we are just burning through the news here. Let's see how we're doing.
It's our job.
We're 131 episodes in. We're getting pretty good at it. We got time for a minimum of one more. I think one more. We'll see how long it goes. Anything on here? We got Intel, Apple Music, Facebook.
I don't know.
Did we get through all the exciting ones and all that's left are the boring ones? He's
done.
He's plumb tuckered out.
I think the Facebook one's probably the the story on this page that has gotten the most play in the widestream media this week.
The lame stream media, Dan.
Sorry, the liberal media.
That's right. The left wing.
The Facebook's just puppets of the liberal media complex, or whatever they call it.
That's it. I'm starting to really believe it. No, so brief bit of history. Gizmodo published an article a couple days ago, talking with Facebook's editorial team. Now, what does that mean? Facebook apparently, and they don't really talk about this, had a team in place at Facebook whose job it was. If you go on Facebook, there's that little trending window, right, on the right-hand side that has trending stories. Facebook had a team of journalists, or former journalists, who worked for the company whose job it was to look at major news sources and inject, non-algorithmically, manually inject those news stories into the algorithmically figured feed of trending pieces. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently if you read the Gizmodo article, was a super shitty job. But on top of that, in that article, it came out that they claimed, the people who work there claimed, Facebook discouraged them from posting articles from what you would consider traditionally right-wing news sources, or more conservative news sources. Also, not to post stories from about Facebook itself as well. It says, subjects in the story say they were told to inject stories from mainstream outlets into the trending list that were not in fact trending at all, or were not popular enough to be flagged by the algorithms. Meanwhile, stories from conservative outlets were actively passed over, even when Facebook's algorithms deemed them trending. Curators say they were also instructed to avoid stories about Facebook itself.
Yeah. I see the argument if this is indeed something that happened. Like, I think it's fine to exclude like extreme views, but there are many spectrums of extreme view, and if you're only excluding one spectrum of the extreme view, then that's bad. But like half of the crap on Huffington Post should also be excluded. Then it's just like 11 reasons why Bernie Sanders is the Democratic nominee. It's like no, and that shit gets recommended like on the the little carousel of crap they want you to read as I scroll through all the time. 11 reasons. No, that's just as bad as Barack Obama is not an American citizen. Like, that's just as much of a lie.
Well, and that's part of the problem, right? Is it's kind of a lose-lose, because, you know, when you have people do it, there's obviously a chance for bias. But when you have algorithms do it, you know, it's very hard to not that I'm an algorithm expert, but it's very hard to tune them. Where if you just go with what's popular, you could easily be posting things that aren't true, that aren't, you know, that aren't newsworthy,
Terrible.
that are terrible. Because
Right.
if you just go by what's popular, turns out a lot of stupid shit is popular. And
Yeah.
you know, I see the advantages to having a balanced approach. Now, the real question is, did this attitude come from Facebook? Or was it merely the people that worked there? Was it just this team that themselves decided that this was what they were going to do? Or did Facebook instruct them to? And there's really been no clear answer on that from anybody. Gizmodo very clearly said in their article that they are not insinuating that you know, this was Facebook's plan all along. But, you know, that's really a big question.
Right. I mean, so them not wanting to post stuff about Facebook, I feel like that's not super surprising. I think, like you said, I think it makes sense to strike a balance, right? Like thinking about I mean, I'm certainly am not an expert on that sort of thing, but thinking about doing that, as you suggested, there, no matter how good your algorithm is at this point, no matter how good that like machine learning stuff is, there's probably going to be a lot of noise that is not maybe popular, but is not like news, and having human checks on that, on what qualifies, is probably a good idea.
Or even
in addition to human, like, you know, input on like, this is actually news.
Well, Well, yeah, I mean, think about it that way. If the U.S. signed a groundbreaking trade agreement with the Philippines or something, I mean, something that your average person doesn't find interesting, but is newsworthy. There's also value in that. If by default your algorithm is designed in a way that excludes those things, is that a fair representation of what's trending or what's news?
Right.
It cuts both ways.
Righto. Yeah. I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was.
I've always been a fan of this site. Like, I would love to go to a website that does stuff like what Facebook and Twitter and Google do and learns what I like, and then specifically shows me things that I don't like. Like, it acts as that counterbalance to myself rather than reinforcing my own echo chamber. Is there any website like that?
Twitter. And
No.
honestly, no. Honestly, I will straight up say I am not a fan of the automatic route. I'm really not, because I haven't found a website that does it well. I purposefully try not to make my Twitter account too much of an echo chamber, and try to follow people with interesting views or people that retweet opposing views or
But how do you find those people?
It's just recommendations from other people. It takes a lot of time. I agree. An automatic solution would be far, far faster and easier. But again, algorithms are built by people, and they're only as
they're
good as
really
the
good
information
at
put into
finding
them.
out what we like.
Well, exactly.
Showing us that. So it should be just as easy to show us stuff that it doesn't think that.
So should
like.
it be 50% things you like and 50% things you don't like? Should it be 80% things you like, 20% things you don't like?
I mean, even if there was a button that, by default, it only shows you things you like, but you could click on a button that says "Show me opposing views," and then it would reverse that and only show you things about that particular topic that it doesn't think that you'll like.
But
I mean, then you have to opt into it, which is maybe not the most altruistic thing that they could be doing, but I would click on that, especially for something I'm not like decided on. Like, I don't necessarily. Maybe someone I agree with other things on is totally wrong about this thing. I think.
And I think that's fair. I mean, I have a whole broader discussion that goes beyond the scope of the show about part of the reason I think we're in a political and media culture we're in is partly because we give too much credit to opposing views, and that every time someone is on a CNN, they always have to bring on somebody who has an opposing view, which in many cases legitimizes that opposing view regardless of how ridiculous it is.
Interesting.
So when you have to have on a story about shooting in schools, every time you have someone on who's saying this is bad and we shouldn't do this, by default you have to have someone on who is a gun rights supporter. Now maybe that's a little more balanced of a situation, but there are situations where by simply having on the people, when Trump says we should ban all Muslims, by default the networks feel they have to have someone on who agrees with that position and legitimizes it and acts like it's okay. So there's a whole broader discussion about this that goes outside the scope of the show, but nonetheless, it is such an insane balancing act that my takeaway from this story, I don't think Facebook is some evil liberal organization that's out to suppress the conservative voice in our country. I think that would be, if they're doing that, is the stupidest thing they could possibly do, because all it does is damage them. But I think it just goes to show that, A, you should never get your news from one place only. Two, that place should probably not be a social network,
Right.
the ultimate news source. Or, three, just remember that there's always a person, know where your news comes from. Who owns that newspaper you read? Who is in charge of the network you're watching? Because those things, there's a really interesting issue going on right now in Las Vegas, where the Las Vegas Journal, the Las Vegas Constitution, I think it's the Las Vegas Journal, was bought by a very conservative individual, one of the rich billionaire conservative guys. And every time, and their journalists have tried to report on the fact that he bought it, his past business dealings, and he shuts them down, and most of them have left.
Mm.
Essentially skewing the newspaper. So you really gotta pay attention to these things. Is I think an important takeaway. I'm not gonna give a ton of crap to Facebook on this.
Right.
I think they're just trying to figure it out like everyone else, and they're gonna make mistakes.
Sure.
Yep.
I mean, like you said, I feel like it's a sort and bias is or leaning one direction or another is the case with really anything, any entity that publishes news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like NPR has a reputation as like a more liberal source of news, and like Fox News is right wing. I mean, I don't think you can really think of Facebook as anything other than that. Like,
Agreed.
I mean, maybe some people do, right? Because that's not necessarily how you think of it, but maybe it seems unbiased because it's a computer.
Well, hey,
algorithms are made by humans. If we didn't make that point while I went and blew my nose,
yeah,
Correct.
and humans
Yes.
are biased.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the power of being the single largest social network on the planet. Is you have a lot of sway with a lot of people, and in a way, a small town newspaper or some guy's blog doesn't.
Correct.
And you have a lot of control whether that small newspaper or that guy's blog gets on your trending list. It wouldn't surprise me someday if Facebook charges you to show up on their trending list. That seems like a great revenue stream. So,
I mean, that's what Google is basically, to a certain extent.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how Google makes money, right?
So, there is, I'm sure there are much smarter people out there who can solve these problems. But I do think it's an interesting technology discussion in, humans supplementing algorithms. We talk about bots and we talk about some of these AI and some of this future stuff. But what it means, we clearly don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It is okay because we are out of time for news. We've got to move on to our picks this week. And we are going to start with the birthday boy himself, Colby.
That's me.
Yes. What do we got this week?
So I'm in kind of a pick rut this week. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have some potential picks coming down the pipe, but I was thinking before the show about, like, I don't know, apps that I use or like technology related things. And I have picked on the show before Pinboard, pinboard.in, which is like the bookmarking service I started using a while ago. And I use it religiously now. And the mobile app, so Pinner is like a website and they have an API. And so there are lots and lots of pretty good third-party clients. And the one I use on iPad and iPhone is called Pinner. And I think it's great. I use it like many times every single day. Every time I read something that I'm interested in saving. And actually, that's not even true. Every time I take the time to read something, I save it to Pinner. They have, I don't know, it has all the sharing and extension stuff built into iOS. It works pretty well. I mean, aside from Twitter, maybe I probably don't or in like iMessage, I don't think there's an app I find myself in more frequently than that. So
Nice.
If you are interested in that sort of thing, do it. Oh, and I mean Safari. Obviously, that's usually what I'm using Pinner from, but
Close enough.
Indeed.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll have links to that and all of them, all the picks on our website, don'tpanic.io. Dan, what do you have this week?
So, I downloaded a game on my way to Boston called Warbits. I've been looking. So I heard about this game on the morning stream, and I forget who recommended it on there, but the way they described exactly my feelings about the game that Warbits is based on, called Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance, which is this really cool like turn-based strategy game. And Warbits is basically a clone of that with different levels, which is great. It's exactly what I wanted. It's paid. I forget how much it is, but because it's paid, there's no like pay to win bullshit or Up, you've taken too many moves today. You're gonna have to slow your roll. Let's see, how much is this thing? $4 on the App Store
Oh, amazing.
for iOS. Yeah, it's great. It works really well on the iPad too. It's a lot of fun to play on the iPad. It works just as well on the phone though. So check out Warbits if you like strategy games.
I feel like there aren't enough strategy games that I want to play on the iPad, and there should be more because it's like exactly the kind of thing
Right.
that lends itself to a multi-touch on a huge screen.
Yeah, totally.
I'm very excited.
As are all of us. Warbits, Warbits. It is available.
Now, Sean, you don't have a pick down here.
I'm scrambling, Dan. I've never
Sorry.
not had a pick. You should
I
have
know,
talked longer.
you're normally the prepared one
I'm
amongst
usually
all
on
of
the
us.
ball, and I've been so
Now,
preoccupied.
what about in your moving? In moving, have there been any services or apps or anything like that you've discovered that have helped you?
Yeah, I had one. It's okay. So it's an app for iOS. It's called Flight Aware. It's all one word. It's free. There are ads, and you can pay to get rid of them for like $1 or $1.99. And it is a really great. If you just need a simple flight tracker, like TripIt Pro is a great flight tracker, but you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
If you just want a really good, very simple flight tracker, FlightAware, for me, does a really good job. The push notifications are really good. They're very up-to-date. And best of all, it's free. So FlightAware, all one word, on iOS. Let me look and see if it is on multiple platforms. I would think that it is. Oh my
It's
God,
sometimes hard
their
to tell.
website is awful.
It's hard to tell on Google Play sometimes if something.
It
the
is on
same
Google
app.
Play.
Okay.
Yep, so you can get it on Android and iOS as well. FlightAware Flight Tracker is what they call it, and it is free, and it's decent. Gets the job done. You can remove ads for $2.99, by the way, and it's
Cool.
adequate. It's all I got for you, so you're gonna have to like it, whether you.
Hey, that's something.
Too bad. I'm so excited. I'm flying JetBlue for the first time.
Ooh,
wow.
yeah.
Ooh, I know. So
Yeah.
I think JetBlue is fine. So I will say that the seats are actually more spacious on JetBlue. That is not, in fact, bullshit. I think their TVs now are mostly dated and irrelevant.
Yeah.
They do have free Wi-Fi. I think they have free Wi-Fi. If I'm not, at least they did. It was free the last time I flew JetBlue. But I think their customer service is very, very nice.
That's good.
When you get into a situation where you need customer service.
As long as they fly direct out of Boston, I'll fly almost any airline. So
Fair enough.
that's what's important, and they were there and available and cheap. So whatever. Very cool. Let me type this in the sheet because I will forget I picked it. Excellent. All right, guys. Anything else before we conclude this evening?
I don't think so. We have game nights this week, right?
Oh yeah.
Look at you.
Doing the plugs.
Doing the plug like a pro. Very cool. Yes, we do. We have game nights this week. We're going to do some new episodes as well. You can go to the website gamenights.tv and follow our adventure. On our previous episode, we defeated some zombies quite handily. What's next for our intrepid travelers? You'll just have to tune in and find out at gamenights.tv. On this show, you can go to our website, don'tpanic.io. If you go there, it's got all of our episodes, audio, video. Our picks for each episode are very nicely laid out on the website. And, of course, all the links to subscribe. We are on, you might want to write this down, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, via RSS, in most major podcasting apps, including the iTunes podcasting app, which, by the way, I didn't know this. Did you know something like 80% of all podcasts are consumed through the Apple Podcasts app?
Wow.
Yeah. That was
crazy.
my exact reaction. Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That
Good
seems
for
like a
them.
lot.
It's so bad.
I know. Like, come on, people. Get on
It's not
it.
the worst podcast app. but it
Oh, I'm
is.
sure that's true. Yeah.
But you can get the
Far
show
from
in
fantastic.
Pocket Casts and in Overcast as well. So we got options for you. And of course, you can follow us at Don't Panic Show on Twitter, Facebook.com/Don't Panic Show, and our email, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com. If you want to get feedback to us, we do the show live Monday nights, roughly 10 p.m. Eastern, on twitch.tv. It's twitch.tv/Don't Panic Show. But you can subscribe there and get the notification when we go live. That is it for this week. We will be back next week with more tech news. On behalf of Colby and Dan, this is Sean, thanking everybody for joining us, and hope we'll see you next time for yet another exciting edition of Don't Panic.